Hi, welcome back to the alignment series. If you haven't checked out the mountain pose posture or Tadasana posture video and are pretty new to alignment, you might want to start there. That being said, if you're just looking for a refresher on down dog, oh, welcome. Here we are. Uh, I've been teaching yoga a long time, and so I have found that as much as I wanted in the beginning for there to be a right way to do everything, there isn't. There's a lot of suggestions and a lot of understanding what's best for you today and letting yourself be an evolving being. That some days you're tighter, we're all aging, that some things change, and that you get to be constantly in this fluidity of the trust that your body's changing and that one day might feel different than the next. And then generally, there's going to be things that you almost always have to do. For example, if you have tight hamstrings, you will probably always have to bend your knees more than your hyper flexible neighbor, me, in a down dog. So once you learn a couple things about your body, chances are that that's going to be true for you across the board, but it doesn't mean it's going to be true for me or someone else. Okay? So down dog has lots of fixed parts that people like to talk about. I don't let any of it be fixed, other than there's some general guidelines. Okay, so I'm going to have you come to your hands and knees, and I'm going to keep changing my own direction so that I can give you the best view. Step one is hands are about as wide as armpits. I prefer that you go wider than narrower if you're going to make a choice, because once you start to move your down dog into other things like chaturanga, with the hands too close, the elbows sneak in and you start other bad habits. Okay. Now, another thing that's helpful from table is to bend your elbows out to the sides like an old school push up, and then sweep your elbows into your sides so your biceps turn towards the front edge of your mat, and then working to straighten your arms. And what you'd hopefully feel, if I had a panoramic camera, is that the shoulders have moved onto the back. So we want the elbows to bend, the elbows to come in, and the shoulders to move down and onto the back. That's where we want them to live in general. What we're trying not to do in a down dog is look like a bulldog, where you've kind of turned your hands in and your shoulders creep here. If you're really tight in your shoulders, if you swam the butterfly stroke, there's a lot of reasons that might happen, but check in. So hands are as wide as armpits. Wrist line is facing the short edge. It's parallel. So it's doing its best to go straight ahead. If you are really, really tight, can you flip your hands out a little bit? Absolutely. The other thing you want to check in with is where's the weight? Just like on the feet and mountain pose, is the weight on the outside edge of my hands, the inside edge of my hands, or can I try to balance it out? Great. So that's step one, hand placement. Step two is about the length of the body. I like to say that ideally, most of us, if we step out to a full plank position with my armpits right over my wrists and my feet are extended back, I'm not forward in my hands, I'm not way back here yet. Okay, for most of us, if you go here, separate your feet, bend your knees, and push your hips back. My mat feels a little slippery. Okay, push your hips back with a bent knee and a tipped up butt. Most of us, this is about right. Some of us who need less pressure on the hands can do a couple things. You can widen your stance. Okay. You can walk your hands and feet closer together. You could put blocks under your hands. But let's just say, generally speaking, plank, not chaturanga prep, plank to down dog is about right. It's about right for most of us. You can even do that weird elbow out, in, straighten thing, but don't worry about that. I'm sure I'll teach it in another class. And then another question I get, right, should my legs lock? Well, for a lot of us, if you lock, you start to look like a rainbow. This posture is meant to look like an upside down V. So my butt is high and I'm hinging at the hip, almost like a forward fold. And then instead of thinking chest to thighs, which is hyperextension in the shoulders, I think about the heart coming towards the thumbs. Okay, so I'll show you from this angle too. So instead of the chest dumping back and you're dumping into your heels, the heart can come forward towards the thumbs. Now, if I stayed there, right here, it'd be too much chest forward. So keep that energy, bend knees, press the hips back, ears in line with biceps. If they're lower than your biceps, those upper arm bones, then you're in hyperextension in the shoulders again. Some of us look like a swan. We've dipped too low in the ribs, pull the ribs in. Some of us, again, are rainbowing because we're worried about our heels down. I don't actually like the heels down. Okay, so should you be pushing your heels down? No. You should be letting them soften towards the floor.
And you're working to kind of get a tilt up in that booty and forward in the heart. Then I can feel, for me, it's too much back bend, ribs in. For some of us, you're going to just constantly working to let your heart come forward. Okay? So knees soft, hips up and back, heart forward. Okay? So one more way we can do that is to do that elbow thing again, elbows out to the sides, elbows sweep in, shoulder blades move on the back. Curl the toes, lift the knees, press the hips up. If you're really, really tight, you might look like a really bent knee. Otherwise, as soon as you start to straighten, you're going to be in a tucked under position. Those of us, again, who are hypermobile, one of my favorite rules, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I'm a little protective of hyperextension of my shoulders. So when you watch me demo, you might notice that I actually kind of come forward more than I come back. I'm cool with that. I've got some weird issues at this point in my adult life that I'm trying to baby. Yeah, head is relaxed. Gaze is towards your shins. What else am I missing? Legs are gently on. Bandhas maybe engaged. Pushing into your handprints. Heart melting forward. Good. I think that's about it. Can you go closer? Sure, but we're not trying to, this is not meant to be like heavy on the hands or heavy on the heels. If you're too heavy in your hands, bend your knees, push your weight of your heels back. Whew, you should be tired if you've been holding it that whole time. Good. Go ahead and watch it again if you need to, or try to do it this time while you're watching it, and just keep finding what feels like the right place for you. You're going to learn your body, and that's all you're here for, learning it, not perfecting it, not trying to get it just right. I hope that was helpful. Please pop questions in the comment box and check out what's next. I'm going to keep posting these alignment videos. I'm super open to you telling me what you want to see next, what poses you find the most challenging, and I'm sure you're not alone. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.